My name's Phil Shomshaw, and I am the co-founder of Brightside Digital Engagement. We're an exec comms and LinkedIn training and content company consultancy, and I'm joined by Mick Adam, who is the founder and owner of Vanguard Leadership, also a LinkedIn training consultancy. So I think we're going to be talking quite a bit about LinkedIn today. I think it's fair to say. So Mick, I've been following your stuff for it must be the last sort of 4 or 5 years since I've sort of really started doing this myself, and always enjoyed your quite measured, sensible, practical advice. You're not one of the people that are out there doing it for your ego or to kind of get 100,000 followers or any of those things, which I really respect. So, and we've never met. So I thought, let's get together and have a chat on video and chew the fat a little bit about LinkedIn. I've got some questions to ask you, but thanks for coming on.
You're welcome, and thanks for having me on your podcast.
Thank you very much. I noticed we've managed to sort of color coordinate, but not too much. I nearly wore my green T-shirt exactly the same color as your top, okay. So at least we're not too similar. But perhaps you could just start by telling us a little bit about your business and how long you've been in the game around LinkedIn and offering advice on the platform.
Well, to make a long story short, I have an international sales and marketing career for about 30 years as an employee of companies. And the last company I worked for, we had a challenge that we were having difficulty getting people to come to our events and whatever. And I looked back and said, well, you know what? Over those 30 years, I also collected many business cards. And at some point I said, maybe some of these people would be interesting to have at our events. And at that point, I kind of fell in love with the whole networking idea. But going from business cards is a little difficult, especially if you have 4 shoeboxes full of business cards from the past. So I started looking for a solution. And initially, I started out with something called Plaxo, which was basically an electronic business card system. But more than that, it wasn't. And I was looking for a little more. And then in April 2004, somebody told me, maybe you should take a look at LinkedIn. So I did. So since April 18th, 2004, I've been a member of LinkedIn. So 21 plus years on the platform, seen it evolve over the years. And initially, I started using it as a platform for inviting clients, prospects, and all of that stuff. And at some point, it was like a tipping point. I said, well, I kind of want to make this into my living, into my daily income stuff. And about 17 years ago, I started my own agency or my own company called Vanguard Leadership, helping people with social media. But as time grew on, I focused on LinkedIn. So, I mean, for the last, I would say, about 12, 13 years, I've been focusing mostly on LinkedIn, and the other ones are just, they're there, and there are touch points, but my focus is LinkedIn. And I've basically focused on doing training, consultancy, and helping clients during their employer branding programs.
Wonderful. Well, I mean, having been on it for so long, so actively, you'll have seen all of the changes. I mean, I think you're about a year ahead of me, but I don't think I was using it as much as you. Early on, I was more of a Twitter man, but you'll have seen all the changes. And obviously, there's a lot of changes going on at the moment this year, in particular. And I think to start off with the questions, I think my first one is, what on earth is going on with LinkedIn? So we've seen loads and loads of stuff like the rise of ChatGPT content, changes in the algorithm, people reporting falling reach, the Facebookification of LinkedIn. So some people not liking that so much. These sort of new changes in the way that the product looks, changes to Sales Navigator. So there's a lot been changing. And the sense that I get is there's a bit more pushback against LinkedIn. It's being challenged a little bit about whether it's worth our time investment. What's your analysis of all of that? Having used it all and seen all the changes up till now, what's your take?
Well, I think LinkedIn is evolving with its time. I think it responds to what people experience as new functionality they want. Looking over over the sides to the Facebooks, the Instagrams, and the TikToks, trying to still grow their bases and membership, because I think that's the driving force, that LinkedIn still wants to grow its membership base. And the only way to do this is implementing new changes to attract new styles and new types of people. If we go back, let's say 4 years, 5 years, we saw the coming of the what I would call the Instagram content creators on LinkedIn. And you see a little more than the personal stories adapting, because that's the kind of content these people, kind of share on Instagram. And now all of a sudden they discovered LinkedIn, which happens to be a better platform for distribution for them. So I think all these changes lead to LinkedIn having to evolve, not to become obsolete as a platform.
Yeah. And what
And
about the kind of ChatGPT aspect of it? Because there seems to be, so I take on the point that it's kind of giving people what they want more, but do people want more robotic style content in the feed that they've not really put a lot of thought into, that they've asked ChatGPT, they've outsourced it ChatGPT? Is that putting people, is the usage of LinkedIn sort of dropping off? I appreciate the point that its membership has continued to increase, but how do you take on some of those
well,
remarks?
I mean, we're all the people who are on any platform are trying to get more content out there, and AI as a general thing, whether it's ChatGPT, Copilot, or anything else, is actually simplifying, or could be simplifying, the fact that we create more content. Is it good content? That is a different story, because the best way to use AI is as a suggestion machine and not as a creation machine. But it doesn't replace us. It kind of makes us a little stronger. Most people don't go that way, but that's a different angle. I think, again, it's trying to address the need for certain people to create that content. And it's also a bit the hope by LinkedIn that people who are currently silent will actually become active on the platform. And as you said before, we are the product. That's what they're selling, active users. But that, in all honesty, hasn't happened. I think
Right.
my personal take on this is that the people who were creating content on LinkedIn before AI came along are the people using AI today to make their process smarter, better, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, we all have our idea about that. But the actual number of people new people using and becoming active on using AI has not really happened. And the reason being that people are afraid to stand on the podium that LinkedIn is, and AI will not, in all honesty, change that. The fear will always be there. If I'm afraid to be on the stage, AI isn't going to change that for me. Yeah, I can write an AI post, but I'm still going to get criticized or applauded, whichever one it is. So what, in my opinion, is happening is that the content creators that were there and are there are using AI, but the new people, it doesn't attract new content creators or few content creators.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what you're sort of alluding to there is around a confidence piece that we see
Yep.
when we're training delegates a lot. And I imagine you have the same thing as us, as when you ask people why aren't you using LinkedIn more? What's
Mhm.
holding you back? And everyone says, I just don't have time. And we all make time for the things we find value in. And actually, often when you dig a bit deeper, it's that they have a lack of confidence and
True.
they're worried about being judged to, as you describe it, standing on the LinkedIn podium. And you could
Mhm.
argue actually that using ChatGPT or the other tools to write your content might even make that worse, because deep down that you've not even said that stuff. And if challenged, are you going to be able to
True.
back it up? So I think it could
Mhm.
actually create more confidence anxiety.
And the other thing is, you mentioned I have no time, which is obviously the number one reason that people come to that they don't post. The second one is, I have no inspiration, and
Right.
theoretically, ChatGPT could address that issue, or partly address that issue. And then the third one, which is that a lot of people say, this is not LinkedIn is not my job.
Mm,
So, which actually is true, but keeping your network close is your job. But that's a different slant on the equation. But the three that I get: no time, no inspiration, and it's not my job, are the three reasons why these people don't want to step on the podium.
why? What sort of people are saying it's not my job? Is that account handlers and salespeople? Is that business owners? What sort of people are
It's
saying that? I'm
both
surprised
business
by.
owners, it's
Really?
salespeople, it's administrative people, because they see that as work they're doing, but it's not part of their job description. I mean,
Right.
this is a little short in through the looking at it, but a lot of people say, yeah, it's good for you to create content on LinkedIn, but LinkedIn isn't my job. I don't,
Yeah.
I don't see that I have to do this.
Yeah.
And that's a hard one to break. In all honesty, that's the most difficult of the three to get through, because no time, well, we can create time. No inspiration, well, you got ChatGPT and Copilot and the rest. So, I mean, that leaves a third one, which is really the hardest nut to crack.
Yeah. Yeah. And given that LinkedIn started as a recruitment platform, the breadcrumb
Well,
trail is there. It helps you in your career. But
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
And how LinkedIn started out as a real true networking platform is, I want to have I want to visualize what my network looks like,
Yeah.
which is the time even before the recruitment thing, because it was like LinkedIn gave us a really good insight in who are we connected with, who's in our second degree, and who's in our third degree, and they visualized that. I remember the early days when there were like charts that LinkedIn offered to get you an insight in your network, which was fabulous.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about the second of the points I wanted to ask you about. And this is around how you test what's going on LinkedIn. So
Mhm.
you publish more than I do. I'm a twice a week person, and you're more than
Yeah.
that. Let's just say. So you're great. We create a lot of content for clients, so we have some data that we can use on that. But I wouldn't see myself as a very taking a particularly same scientific approach to LinkedIn that you
Mhm.
are.
Okay.
So tell us a little bit about how you do it and some of the things that you've noticed this year that might be of interest to
Yeah.
people.
I, I mean, a lot of it is triggered by questions from either clients or statements from, from peers. I mean, there's every year there's a bunch of algorithm reports that are being published. I kind of challenge some of these reports by doing my own research on my own data. And to come down to what I've seen this year is that it is really clear when I look at my own data that there's been a shift from in the life cycle of a post. It's gone from, let's say, a couple of days, maybe 2 days, maybe 3 days, to a life cycle of where the majority of your impressions and visibility come in week 1, 2, or even week 3. And
Yeah.
it's very, very distinctive. I literally seen from January through now how this has shifted from, let's say, 65% after like 2 days to now maybe only 30%, 40%.
Because you're time stamping
Yeah, I've
your
got,
impressions at a different point, aren't you? You're doing
yeah,
it. I mean, what you've said, I absolutely can see intuitively, and looking at the data and going, oh, hang on a minute. When I looked at this last week, particularly when you're reporting for clients, this only had
yeah.
1,200 impressions. Now it's got 2,000. But I haven't actually sat down and gone, right, this is absolutely the case. But you've done that.
Yeah, I have a marking point at 50 views, which is obviously fairly quickly. I've got a marking point after 1 hour. I've got a
Yeah,
marking point after one day, and I've got a marking point at 3 weeks.
yeah. So what should
And
people take away from that, Mick? What's the conclusion? So posts are lasting longer in the feed. How should
yeah,
that inform our content strategy?
well, to a certain degree, that will help people to, believe it or not, reduce their posting volume. Because if your post lives 2-3 weeks, you don't
Yeah,
have to post every day.
yeah,
If today you can get away with, and that's what I kind of advise my clients: post once a week, or at the worst, post every 2 weeks.
yeah,
That way, you continue to surf on that wave of visibility, because your post will continue to live for about 2 weeks
yeah.
anyway. So, and the
Also
second
helps.
conclusion is that if you do that, if you maybe reduce your frequency, but you do it still consistently every week, every 2 weeks, whatever. The period in between you should be using to do more comments, so
Yeah,
that you keep the flame going during the times that you're not posting, because comments are really becoming, or are really today's visibility boosters.
yeah. I've noticed that some of the views on comments are wild.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I don't know
100.
how I feel about showing the numbers on the visibility views on comments, to be honest, but we've got them, and you'll get some that are 10, some 100, and then every now and again you'll have some that are getting thousands.
Yeah,
Do you think
I,
people should be focusing their comments on big hitters, or not take that approach? What was your advice be
I don't
around?
think it has anything to do with the big hitters. I
Right.
think it has more to do with the relevance of the comment you make into the post, and the visibility that generates in both your network and the other person's network. And I don't think, I mean, you can bet on the big visibility people, but I think there is too much competition from whose comment is going to draw the attention.
Mm.
So I think it's probably more reasonable to say, comment on people that are active on the platform,
Yeah.
rather than the big hitters that are to be honest, in a broadcast mode, and yeah, their post might get a lot of reach, but I don't think your comments will you know get the hundreds of the thousands or whatever times of impressions. Now, okay, we don't have to look only at that number. It's all about the conversations we start. But when you
Yeah.
compare that to posting, I'm beginning to see that the commenting bit generates as much visibility as the posting bit.
Yeah. I think on the commenting, the easy trap to fall into is commenting on people so that you get something back, or so that you get
Yeah.
an increase in your visibility. Whereas if you're setting your stall out, if you want to work, if you're doing it for sales, the obvious thing is comment on your clients and customers, or the people that influence it. If you're doing it to raise your profile as an industry thought leader, then
Uh-huh.
comment on other industry thought leaders within your space. I think is the vanity metrics thing is a big issue for me, because people end up
Yeah.
trying to become a big hitter, because that's what they see as being
Mm,
success.
yeah.
I want to have 100,000 followers. I want to get. I'm going to publish. I saw a post today. So, I'm not going to name the person, but the post was titled something like, "Can you guess how many followers I've got?" I was like, "That's not." To me, that's not an aspiration which we should be chasing.
Plus,
What's your take on that?
the other thing is that, are these 100,000, 200,000, or whatever the number is, followers? I mean, are they really engaged with what you do? And I think they're not. I think for me, because that's also a conclusion that I have recently, is I've seen the engagement ratio on my post actually doubling.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I see it, like everybody else. We have a reduction in reach.
Oh, I see.
But
Yeah,
the number of comments and likes and whatever that comes out of it remains stable. So my engagement is actually going up,
yeah,
or my engagement ratio is going up, versus the impressions. And I
yeah,
think if you have 100,000 followers, your engagement ratio will drop dramatically, because not everybody's interested to see what you post on a daily or weekly basis.
Well, they're just not going to serve it. I mean, that's a really good point because a lot of people have seen a drop in
Yep.
impressions.
Yep.
But if your engagement is holding strong, you
Yep.
could argue that that's just LinkedIn getting better at serving the content to the right people that are interested in it. And so if you were
Exactly
used to
right.
getting engagement rate of 2%, you're probably
Mhm.
seeing 5, 6, 7% now,
I actually my
maybe
post,
even more.
yeah, funny enough, my post yesterday got like over 10%.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I quite like some of the new stats as well around, or data
Yeah.
points around how many people are saving your posts and that sort of stuff. I think that's quite interesting too. We should probably pay more
The,
attention to
the,
those.
the only one that I don't like in there is the send. Because if I send my own post to 15 people, I get 15 cents, which
Yeah.
adds no value to the equation.
No, no, and it could be easily manipulated by any
Yeah,
social media
that
managers that
one
are looking
can.
to bolster their results.
I mean, that can, but I guess that's the only one that I found so far that you can actually trick
Yeah,
into the wrong statistics or the wrong numbers. But
yeah.
the
Well, you're
other,
only
the
tricking
save, you
yourself.
can only save a post once. So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's what it is.
And what would you do if LinkedIn stopped tomorrow? I mean, you've invested an awful lot of your career. I've invested a lot of my career, particularly recently, into LinkedIn success. But let's imagine that people just tune out of it and it loses relevance, or just sort of goes the way of Twitter. What would you do instead? Do you think there's a viable alternative to LinkedIn out there?
Today, there is no real viable alternative. I think what we're seeing. I mean, we're seeing people try or organizations try. I mean, obviously, if you look at LinkedIn, you look at Substack these days. I mean, that seems to be the next viable route to take. Um, OpenAI has announced that they're going to come up with some kind of recruitment stuff, tool, interface, whatever you want to call it, that's going to give LinkedIn a run for its money. So should we all run to Substack or to OpenAI with for recruitment? I think the answer is really all about, is your target audience there, present, and are they active?
Mm,
Because that's, to me, that is the ultimate question. Where if they're not active, if they're not there running to Substack, I'm sorry, but it's not going to give you what you were hoping to get from LinkedIn today. So I think there is room for a new platform, a competitive platform. The only biggest challenge that they will face is, how do we move 1 billion people from LinkedIn to our platform? That's not going to happen overnight.
yeah. I think there's a couple of alternatives that are worth exploring around. Maybe people will get tired of the social media environment and construct, and perhaps we might see
Mhm.
a more active and conscious effort to do more stuff in real life. So going back to
True.
old school networking and real life
Agreed. Agreed.
events, I have to say I enjoy those if it's the right group. So I
Mhm.
think we could see more of that.
Yeah.
And we've seen sort of pockets of this already trying to happen around communities, so small communities. So not we don't need one big platform. If you
Right.
know that everybody that is interested in cloud computing or
Mhm.
professional services or something can gather in a particular place, then you can use tools like Stack or Slack or Discord.
Yeah.
There's a load of different tools out there. You can create your own communities, but my experience is it's also very, very hard to get something off the ground like that.
Yeah. Plus, the other thing is, if in the time where, and seeing that you are an active Twitter user, I was too. Is you've got two different platforms that you have to feed content in, which means your time
Yeah,
is going to be either split, or you have to make a commitment to being active on both, because you're not going to say, I'm going to stop LinkedIn entirely. Probably you haven't stopped Twitter. You might still have the account now, but not doing anything because your audience isn't there, or it's a different kind of audience there.
yeah. No, I agree.
So the time investment will also define whether you want to, make that change to one of the alternatives. But in all honesty, there is no real, let's, go to Substack or all go to, whatever the platform is. I think LinkedIn is there to stay. So in the same manner that Facebook is there to stay. Twitter, I had my doubts, but they seem to be still continuing to live. So I don't know what the
Yeah,
story is going to be, but
good. Well, what we're going to do now is I've
okay.
given you a tiny bit of prep on this, but
Yeah.
not everything. I'm going to switch to some quick fire questions to finish things off. So
Hmm.
I've got these on a
Curious.
bit of paper because I won't remember them all.
Curious.
So we're going to start with the good, bad, and not the ugly. We're going to call it the unusual
Okay.
about LinkedIn today. So, what would
Okay.
you say in a sentence or in a line is the good thing about LinkedIn today?
It keeps changing and gives me my job.
Okay. And the bad?
The existence of pods and automation that are not punished by LinkedIn.
Okay. And engagement pods, for those that don't know what they are.
Those are basically platforms where people comment on each other's posts, and it's basically entirely automated.
Yeah, horrible. And
Yeah.
the unusual of LinkedIn.
Well, I actually have two on that. The
Okay.
first one is LinkedIn does not communicate the changes and the upgrades to the platform. I think that is the one thing. The other thing is, and that's been my pet peeve over the years, is LinkedIn is not embracing its biggest ambassadors, which are people like you and me, trainers around the world who actually don't have any contact or very limited contact with LinkedIn, and there is no cooperation between the trainers and LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So they don't treat their best ambassadors. They don't treat their best ambassadors the way they should.
Yeah. That's a good point. There's no kind of accreditation or support or intel.
Yep,
You're on your own, basically. And
exactly.
other than yourself or me, who would you recommend to offer LinkedIn training?
That's a tough question because
There's so
there's
many. You're
people.
going to upset 1,000
I'm going to
people.
upset everybody else. So if I have to pick a name, I'm going to pick Guy Strebos from Holland, who's my buddy on the podcast that I do every week. But the thing is, there are so many people that serve specific needs that I
Yeah.
could name for each need one person. And then we can need to think about geographies. Do we talk about English speaking people or people who do business in English, or do we do local? So I'm going to go with Guy.
Yeah. You'll be talking to him on Friday, so it'll be an embarrassing conversation
No, no,
he
no,
wasn't
no.
if he wasn't the one.
He
Which
doesn't want to be on the lists anyway. So, but he's on the
uh,
list again.
oh, don't get me started on lists. Um, one feature you'd like LinkedIn to fix or create?
Add votes to the engagement ratio
Okay.
because votes are really considered engagement.
Hmm.
But there isn't. LinkedIn doesn't give you any statistic on how many people voted. LinkedIn will tell you how many likes and comments you got on your poll, but not the
Yeah.
number of votes. I think LinkedIn really needs to fix that because voting is an engagement.
Yeah. Okay. If you weren't doing LinkedIn training,
Oh.
what would you be doing with your life instead?
I'd probably be either, what I was before, a marketing manager, or what would really be funny or would be great would be a trend watcher or blogger.
Okay. Yeah. What about
And that
a left field one mix? Something nothing to do with what you do now.
nothing to do a how would I call it? Somebody who takes people on walks in the mountains.
Ah, like a mountain guide.
Yeah, well, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
that
Yep.
sounds
Yep.
that I could get behind that. That would be good. And what aspect of your own LinkedIn usage would you like to improve?
Uh, my emotional side.
Okay.
I'm a very data focused individual, very analytical. which means that a lot of my posts don't go into the emotional side of life, which apparently triggers more interaction. So I need to start crying on screen or something like that, but I won't. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, making it more, making it more the emotional side. That would be something I need to work on.
And if I was to visit Bruges, which restaurant would you recommend I go to?
Oh, that's an awkward one. Which restaurant do you want to go to? It's a good question. The problem is there's so many good ones. I would say the restaurant called the Grilloir, which is it's mainly focused on meat, but they also do fish. It's a great restaurant. Um, yeah, I was hoping you were going to ask me about beer, but that's
Well, you can give me a beer
because
recommendation as well while we're here.
there is a specific Bruges beer, and the thing is, if you ever come to Bruges, you need to go and visit their brewery because it's really special. They brew
Okay.
in the center of the old town, and they put it in bottles and stuff outside of the city, and there's a whole pipeline that connects the brewery in the center with the delivery outside of town. It's a very interesting place to go to.
Okay. I'd much rather be. I mean, it's nice to do this on video, but I'd rather be doing it over a beer in Bruges, I have to say.
Okay.
But thank you for that. Well, I think we're probably out of time, but thank you so much for coming on to this first conversation. I'm thinking of doing this as a series. We're going to see, but I just thought, given that we're in the same field and we talk about this
Yeah.
stuff, it'd be
Yeah.
nice to get
Yeah.
together. So thank you for coming on, Mick.
You're welcome, and I've done it with pleasure. It's fun.
Good stuff. I've got one more question for you to finish with.
Ooh.
And for people listening or watching this, Mick has had this in advance. What is your motto in life?
Give and you will get. Give and don't put a timer on when you get back.
I like the amendment to that one. People often expect it back straight away, don't they? So
Yeah, I mean, I still get business today from people that I gave advice or whatever to, 10, 15 years ago.
yeah,
They
100%.
remember
Well,
me.
wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming on, giving us a chat, and we'll catch up on LinkedIn
Okay,
very soon.
great. Thank you.
Take care.
Take care. Bye bye.